Everyone talks about signs he's wrong for you, but no one talks about the signs Allah places when someone might actually be right. That's where most women feel lost, not in heartbreak, but in uncertainty. Because choosing a man isn't a small decision in Islam. It shapes your deen, your peace, your dignity, your future children, and the version of yourself you become. And somewhere between everyone's advice, cultural pressure, online lists, and your own expectations, you start asking a quiet question you don't say out loud. How do I know if he's the one Allah is placing in my life or just another test? And here's the part no one explains. Islam never gives you a soulmate formula. It gives you something better. Clear signs of compatibility, character and sincerity that protect your heart before it gets attached and guide your choice before regret ever has a chance to grow. Not signs of perfection, not signs that guarantee marriage, just signs that tell you, this is a man who might walk with you toward Allah, not away from him. These signs are not dramatic, not the kind of things people brag about on social media. They're rooted in character, not charm. Rooted in sincerity, not performance. Let's begin. Sign 1. He protects your deen, not pulls you away from it. One of the clearest signs that a man might be right for you isn't how he makes you feel at first. It's how he makes you remember Allah, not through long lectures, not through big religious claims, and not through showing off how knowledgeable he is, but through the way he quietly respects your relationship with your Creator. A man doesn't need to be a scholar to protect your deen. Sometimes it's as simple as the way he pauses for prayer, the way he lowers his gaze, the way he speaks about what's halal and haram with sincerity instead of arrogance, or how he never makes you choose between him and your obedience to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said, "The best of you are those who are best to their families." And best here isn't measured by gifts or romantic gestures. It's measured by how safe your faith feels around him. When a man is right for you, your īmān doesn't get weaker inside the relationship. You don't feel embarrassed to do what's right. You don't have to hide your values to keep his attention. You don't catch yourself lowering your standards just to maintain peace. Instead, you feel a quiet ease, the kind where your heart says, I can grow with this person, not shrink. Because real compatibility starts with deen, not strictness, not perfection, but respect for Allah that shows in the small choices he makes when no one is watching. If a man draws you closer to Allah without forcing you, or without making you feel judged, that's not a coincidence. That's a sign of sincerity, and sincerity is something Allah places in someone's heart. You can't manufacture it. Sign 2. His character behind closed doors matches the one you see. A lot of men know how to present themselves well in public. Polite, friendly, respectful. They know the right phrases, the right jokes, the right level of Islamic to appear trustworthy. But the real sign, the one Allah wants you to pay attention to, is the part of him that doesn't need an audience. Who is he when no one is praising him? Who is he when he's tired, frustrated, or disappointed? Who is he when the conversation turns serious and there's nothing to gain from pretending? The Prophet said, the most complete believer in faith is the one with the best character. Character is who he is, not who he performs. It's in the way he handles disagreement without belittling you, the way he respects boundaries even when they inconvenience him, the way he apologizes without excuses, the way he keeps his word, especially the small promises people forget they made. Good character isn't loud, it shows up in consistency. A man who is right for you won't confuse you with mixed signals. He won't be charming today and dismissive tomorrow. He won't act religious in public and reckless in private. He won't give you attention but deny you respect. Instead, you see steadiness, even if he's imperfect, and everyone is. He tries, he grows, he takes responsibility when he falls short. He doesn't hide the version of himself that actually matters, because love without character feels exciting at first but unsafe over time. And character without performance? That's where real trust begins, when the man you're considering has the same heart both in front of people and behind closed doors at night. That's not just a good sign, that's a sign of maturity. And maturity is something that makes a marriage peaceful, not dramatic. Sign 3. He carries responsibility, and his ego doesn't fight correction. One of the strongest signs a man may be right for you isn't perfection, it's responsibility, a sense of amana, a seriousness about your future, a level of maturity that shows he understands marriage isn't built on feelings alone, but on character, consistency, and trust. The Prophet ﷺ said, "There is no faith for the one who cannot be trusted." And trust here doesn't just mean secrets, it means reliability. It means he means what he says. It means he doesn't treat your heart like a temporary comfort. It means when he speaks about commitment, he's not entertaining himself. He's thinking about a life he will be accountable for. But responsibility alone isn't enough. A man can be disciplined, successful, respected, and still difficult to live with if he cannot say the simplest word in the world, "I'm wrong." Pride is one of the most silent destroyers of relationships. Many conflicts that could end with one honest sentence turn into days of coldness, hours of excuses, and 1,000 unnecessary lies because ego refuses to let truth enter the room. A good man, a truly mature man, doesn't shrink when he's corrected. He doesn't see advice as an attack. He doesn't twist the story to protect his pride. He listens. He reflects. He adjusts. Not because he's weak, but because he knows every believer needs nasiha and every relationship needs humility. The Prophet ﷺ said, "The religion is sincere advice." A man who is serious about you will value guidance, not compete with it. He knows that admitting a mistake doesn't make him less, it makes the relationship safer. And a safe relationship is one where two people can grow without stepping on each other's dignity. Sign 4. Your values align more than your personalities do. One of the most misunderstood parts of choosing a spouse is this idea that your personalities have to match, as if marriage depends on liking the same foods or music or hobbies or conversation style. None of that builds a life. Personality can make things pleasant, but it's your values that make things possible. You don't need a man who mirrors your every preference. You need a man whose direction matches yours, whose beliefs don't clash with yours, whose understanding of marriage, family, and commitment aligns with what Allah asks of both of you. Compatibility in Islam isn't about being identical, it's about being parallel. Two people walking toward the same goals, even if their steps look different. A man may be charming and fun and full of personality, but if his values contradict yours, you will feel alone even when he's sitting next to you. On the other hand, a man with steady values, even if he's quiet, simple, or different from your type, creates a foundation you can actually build on. You notice he cares about honesty. He respects family. He sees marriage as responsibility, not entertainment. He cares about his livelihood. He wants a home where Allah is remembered. He takes modesty and respect seriously. He isn't casual about the things that shape a life. That alignment brings something personality never can: stability. The Prophet said we marry for 4 things, but he emphasized Deen and character for a reason. Because as years pass, looks fade, habits change, personalities evolve, but values stay. When values align, differences become manageable. When values clash, even similarities feel exhausting. And when Allah places someone in your life whose heart moves in the same direction as yours, that's not chemistry, that's compatibility. Sign 5. Your Istikhara and your inner peace. One of the most confusing moments in choosing a spouse is when you're caught between what you want and what your heart quietly knows. This is where Istikhara becomes a mercy, not the cultural version, where people wait for a dream, a miracle, or a dramatic sign from the sky. The Prophet taught Istikhara as a dua for clarity, a way of asking Allah, if this is good for my deen, my life and my future, ease it. And if it's harmful, turn it away and turn my heart away from it. No theatrics, no visions. Just a conversation with Allah where you hand him the pen and trust him with the next chapter. And here's what many people misunderstand. Often the answer to Istikhara appears as peace, not perfection. as ease, not excitement, as clarity, not fireworks. You start noticing that your mind settles instead of spinning. Your doubts become lighter, not heavier. The obstacles that matter begin to soften. The advice you receive aligns instead of conflicting, and your heart feels more steady than scared. Other times, Allah protects you through discomfort. Doors closing, red flags appearing, communication becoming difficult, your heart resisting instead of relaxing. Istikhara doesn't force your destiny, it removes blindness from your heart. And when a man is right for you, your soul won't feel like it's in a tug of war between hope and warning. Your heart won't be silenced, it will be guided. Not by emotion, but by a type of quiet confidence that only Allah can place inside you. A feeling that says, if this is written for me, I can walk toward it without fear. Because the real sign isn't a dream. It's alignment between your prayer and your peace. Sign 6. He respects your modesty and surrounds himself with men who hold him to that standard. A man's sincerity isn't only seen in how he treats you, it's seen in how he treats the boundaries Allah placed around you. A man who may be right for you doesn't test your modesty, doesn't pressure your comfort, doesn't chip away at what protects your dignity. He isn't attracted to the idea of crossing limits, he's attracted to the idea of keeping things pure. Not because he's emotionless, but because he fears Allah more than he follows desire. You notice something subtle. He lowers his gaze, he speaks with adab. He never comments on your appearance in a way that feels intrusive. And he never tries to access any part of you, emotional or physical, that belongs only within Nyaka. That level of restraint doesn't come from willpower alone. It comes from who he surrounds himself with. Look at his circle. Are his friends men who joke about women, normalize sin, push each other toward desires, treat modesty like a burden? Or are they the kind of men who remind each other of Allah, speak respectfully, protect each other from slipping, and don't make fun of someone who wants to stay clean? The Prophet ﷺ said, "A person follows the religion of his close friend," meaning, his friends are not just people he knows, they are a window into his future. A man who respects your modesty because he respects Allah doesn't walk alone. He walks with men who hold him to a higher standard, who correct him when needed, and who don't drag him into behavior that would harm a marriage before it begins. Modesty isn't just a value for women, it's a sign of discipline, humility, and God consciousness in men. And when a man protects what Allah honored in you, and surrounds himself with men who protect what Allah honored in him, that's not a red flag or green flag. That's a sign of a heart trained by faith, not desire. When you look at these signs together, something becomes clear. Finding the right man in Islam isn't about waiting for perfection. It's about recognizing sincerity. A man can't guarantee your future. He can't promise you a life without test. He can't fill every empty place in your heart. But he can show you, through his actions, through his discipline, through his character, that he fears Allah enough to take the role of a husband seriously. And that matters more than charm, timing, or emotion. But here's the part many people forget. Even when a man has every sign, Qadr still writes the final chapter. Allah may bring two sincere people together, or he may separate them gently because his wisdom sees what our hearts can't. So these signs are not a prediction, they are protection. A way of helping your heart choose with clarity instead of desperation, with insight instead of fantasy. And if you haven't found someone yet, or things didn't work out with someone who seemed right, it's not a sign that you're unworthy or difficult to love or being overlooked. It simply means Allah is still aligning your story in a way that will make sense later. The same way every answered dua eventually does. If this spoke to you tonight, leave a quiet prayer below. Ya Allah, grant me a spouse whose character brings peace to my heart. Until then, trust the author of your destiny more than the chapters you can see. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatullahi.